And I'm like, oh yeah, they'll be fine. Nobody can hurt them.
And they were. And they were fine.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like sure.
That'd be a stupid anecdote if but by the way.
All right, welcome to another episode of the RV Voice. Today we got a different one for you. We're talking about Cordova Coolers. Gentry J, the president of Cordova. What are your main competitors, buddy, real quick?
Well, there's an 800-pound publicly traded gorilla in Yeti.
Yeah, okay.
And they do a great job. And then I would say another larger competitor is Arctic, RTIC.
Yep.
Also makes a good roto-molded cooler. And then there's a lot of smaller, more niche brands, and we're trying to kind of lead the pack out of that sort of segment of the market. But, you know, it's not uncommon for folks to see our products and say, oh, are these like those names I just mentioned?
Awesome. Well, real quick, let's hear your background a little bit. How'd you end up into the I guess cooler space? Yeah,
sure. I love making stuff. Manufacturing is something that it just gives me a lot of professional and personal satisfaction. And I like being in the outdoors. I love being in the outdoors, actually. We didn't start the company, but I have a business partner that I've worked with for about 20 years. And back in the dark days of the pandemic, we became aware that this operation had been set up, but might be looking for some new ownership. And so we came in and acquired the business in August of 2020 and been trying to make a run of it since then. One of the things we loved about it, one of the reasons we were interested in it was, you might even be able to hear the air compressor just went off, but the manufacturing facility is right here in the Boise area. We're in Nampa, Idaho right now. Yep. We're making all the coolers just about, 40 feet from where you and me are sitting, and that's the part I love about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I just bring these up here. I was kind of shocked. They're pretty dang sweet. I've seen them. We sell them in our store.
You guys are great customers. Yeah, we appreciate that.
Do we sell them pretty well? I don't even know.
You do.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and we like making them with the Bish's branding on them too. Co-branding them with Cordova, helping us both build our brands.
Very much so. So, back to like the Yeti versus Arctic and stuff like that. I mean, what was the start of why Cordova started?
Okay, so that's going to predate me a little bit, but I still think it's a good story. Yep. There's a captain from the Deadliest Catch show on Discovery named Scott Campbell, who made his living in the Bering Sea, fish out of Cordova. That's the town in Alaska, which is an awesome place.
Really?
Yeah, it's super cool. Okay. Yeah, well, you got to want to get to Cordova. You're not just going to happen across it, because even though it's on the mainland, there's no roads in. So effectively, it's like an island. You got to take a boat or an airplane to get there. Okay. There were train tracks, but those were taken out in an earthquake back in the 1960s, and they're like, it's not worth rebuilding.
Yeah, not surprising.
Yeah. So Scott, took everything that he had learned as a commercial fisherman and being out there exposed to the elements, and thought about where there might be a hole in the market for premium brands, and approached some boat manufacturers with what he had put together, and basically that was the start of the company. But I think what makes us different in terms of the why that fires me up is having the production facility right here. I mean, American manufacturing, it can be tough.
Oh yeah,
it can be expensive.
Absolutely.
And but it's awesome to like go touch the product versus the folks I named who, and this is the way a lot of the world works, I get it, but they're manufacturing overseas and importing finished goods.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about, sort of, if you're looking for why Cordova, that'd be my top answer. I got a few more, but that's number one.
American made?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. I mean, starting in the fisherman's area of Alaska.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no joke out there.
No joke.
I've been out in the sea, and I went on a fishing charter out there in Seward, and they're like, all right, well, yeah, we're in 350 feet of water, and we weren't that far from shore, and I was like, ugh. Yeah. You made me eerie real quick, but those guys, you've seen the rocking and and all that. That's kind of freaky stuff, so you need something that's pretty built. And these things are not light. They're quite heavy.
They are.
They're pretty legit, so.
Yeah, they're.
Okay, we're good.
We're good?
Yeah, we're
okay.
good.
All right.
But anyway, so let's kind of dive into a little bit of features and stuff like that. So, like, what unique features set Cordova Coolers apart? I guess from like RV fridges, right?
Sure.
Let's kind of dive into that, especially like about long trips, like and remote boondocking. These things, these things are meant to go off road.
Yeah.
Not really off road, but like off the grid.
Yeah, off the grid.
Stay out there. But like a fridge, for me, I would like to have a cooler backup because stuff happens all the time.
Right.
So kind of compare those a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, if you put in the prep work, pack that cooler right, it'll keep what you put in it for a week. Easy.
No kidding.
Easy.
Wow.
Easy. Yeah. And, so what you need to do, just from that standpoint, is make sure you got your ice to what you're putting in it ratio down. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of people that don't have a lot of experience packing for expeditions are a little bit surprised. But you ought to have, by weight, about twice as much ice as you do stuff that you're packing. So these coolers here that we're looking at and that we're set up on, these are 48 quart coolers, right? So 12-gallon coolers. So really you ought to have about 8 gallons worth of ice and 4 gallons worth of stuff in there to stay a week. Like if you're just going 3 days, flip that, right?
Yeah.
Go 1 to 2.
But a week, wow.
But if you're going out and staying out, prep it right, pack it tight, and you will be good.
Jeez.
So the features in terms of what you're talking about, like you can see, and you talked about, they've got some heft to them, and that includes the lid. Like this lid is shot full of EcoFoam insulation and weighs about 8 pounds for this size of cooler. So one of the features that we built into it is a lock that holds the lid up, so it won't come slamming down in your fingers or your head or your kids' hands when they're grabbing whatever they want out of it.
Because it's hefty.
Yeah, because it's got a little bit of oomph to it when it comes down. Yeah. So people will notice that when they open the lid for the first time, I'll frequently have to say, hey, pull through it. Yeah. It's designed like that, and then they'll see that it locks up. But that's one of the features I like. For what you're talking about, like being out on an RV, being in some confined spaces, another thing that I like is these latches load from the top, right?
Oh, yeah.
And going back to nautical roots, space on boats is tight. It is tight. Every inch is spoken for, right? So you can throw that right up against the bulkhead or the wall and still open it from the back if that's the way it needs to be packed. You don't have to get your hand down in front of the cooler between it and whatever it's up against to access it. And then the other thing is, again, out on the let's just keep going with the Bering Sea, things move, right? Like the ocean.
Well, same.
Yeah, right.
You're towing
Exactly.
a trailer up in the mountains or going elk hunting, whatever it may be. Yeah.
Right. So you can gain positive control of this cooler with the aluminum handles that are screwed in there. Like, those. Okay, so you notice that that's as far up as you can lift it, right? You cannot pinch your hand between the handle and the cooler,
which is nice,
right? Yeah. And it is not going to sway on you. There's no play.
Yeah.
So if the boat's moving, the RV's moving, you can hold it where it is, and versus rope handles that are just going to, kind of go like that. So those are, I think, my top 3 features I'd call out is the lid lock, the latches, and the handle.
Yeah, so if your fridge does go out in an RV, this thing will last a week if you do the right ratio that he tells you.
Yeah, just put in the prep work. Yep.
Well, that's super nice because, I mean, like I said, elk hunting, bear hunting, whatever it may be, especially out here in Idaho. I've been on some roads with my Jeep, which is pretty, it's meant for that stuff.
Yeah.
It gets pretty rugged.
Yeah.
And it's kind of gnarly, but anyway, so how does so you kind of mentioned the extreme environment, but you said 7 days if done properly.
Yeah.
Is that all because of the design feature? Like how it's designed on the inside with insulation and all that? Yeah,
there's a couple advantages to the roto-molded cooler process. And roto-molding, if you're not like a plastics nerd, is the slowest process. So it takes the most time to make it versus injection molding or blow molding, which, the cycle time is like that. It's seconds. For these, it's about an hour. From the time the mold is closed until it's opened.
Wow.
So the advantage of it is that the mold is turning along 2 axes in 2 directions as it's going through an oven. And so when the shell forms for both the body and the lid, there's no seams. There's nothing glued together, so there's no weak points, right? the body is one piece, the lid is one piece, and then we join them together. So you're wondering maybe next how we get the foam in there. There are 4 holes where the feet go in the molded end of the bottom. So we inject the molding and then put the insulation into the mold and the molded cooler, and then put the feet on. And then there's 2 plugs for vents on the back of the lid there where we insulate the lid.
Interesting.
But it makes for a very rugged cooler. Like if we zoomed out a little, you could see the warehouse behind us. The roof's about 30 feet. We load this thing. You can go to our Instagram, Cordova Outdoors, and see us load it up with ice and everything and throw it off the roof, and it just skids. It's fine.
Throw it off this roof?
Yeah. All day long.
That in here.
Yeah. Put a link to it.
Try to beat it up.
Yeah, and you can see us drop competitors as well.
Yeah.
And so that, and then the no seams makes it durable. It also means that there's like no weak point for how you might do like a thermal imaging of something to see where the hot spots are. There's not that.
Really?
Right? Yeah. And then the chock full of the foam has a great R value. It is also environmentally friendly. Okay. Like we don't use any CFC propellants like that. It's actually called Eco Foam.
Oh, really?
But it expands and fills every
square centimeter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
of
wondering
the
how,
interior.
Like, you think it'd be like an air pocket or
Yep.
two.
No, we work really hard to get those out, and there's some art to the science of it. But yeah, there are no voids in it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm guessing you do some sort of X-ray.
You know what is kind of interesting is you take a bright light and you can see.
Oh, that makes sense.
You can see. But we check everything. They are tightly controlled for quality.
Well, that's really cool. I mean, there's so far I've seen. I mean, even the graphics on the outside are super cool. But
thanks.
I mean, when I was moving them out here, they're not light. They're pretty hefty.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when Yeti first came out a couple of years. I don't know. Pushing 10 years ago now, probably.
Yeah.
And I remember my buddy had one. He lived in his car for a while. He was one of those guys.
Right on.
And he's like, dude, my Yeti will last for weeks. But then when I started getting the coolers, I was like, I'm going to go elk hunting and do all these things out of Nebraska. I was like, I need to travel a ways. And I saw that I started doing the whole research thing because everything's expensive. When
yes, it's an investment for sure.
I ended up buying 2 120s Coleman's for like $150 a pop, because the Coleman actually outlasted the Yeti.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think it might have had something to do with color a little bit, but I mean, they were a lighter cooler, but they lasted a touch longer. I mean, there was like hours difference. Right?
Okay.
I mean, it was real close, but I was just very interested in that. So, but anyway, so you were talking about limited space, right?
Yeah.
Limited space in boats and stuff like that. What cooler sizes or models would you recommend for like solo travelers versus maybe large families?
Right on. So what we've got here is the medium, right? Okay. So that implies that they're smaller or bigger, and there are. Yeah. There's a small, which is a 28 quart, and this is an extra small.
Oh, okay.
So this is the smallest roto-molded size. It's a 20 quart. Fun fact, the reason this one's black is it's made with recycled resin. So if we do have something that comes off the mold wrong, right, it's pulled too hot, we lose power while the oven's turning, whatever.
Yep.
You can cut it up, regrind it. We mix all the colors together, and that's what it turns into when you run it through the oven again. But so that's the smallest, and then bigger. This is the 48 quart is the medium. Okay. We've got an 88 quart. And then 128 quart, which is the perfect size for what you're talking about, going out elk hunting. Yeah. This time of year, that's when you see that people are like,
gotta have it.
Yeah.
Some guys go out to base camp for a week, 9 days, some more. I was supposed to go on a 10-day hunt recently. I didn't go because my buddy, his kid's due in a couple weeks, so he had to bail out.
Life happens.
I was like, fine by me. I was like, I got other things to do.
Okay.
But anyway, so something like that. I mean, so what, like larger families in tight spaces. Obviously there's fridges in here. Yeah. So you're thinking more of this size would probably be a better idea for
my family. Like I got 3 kids. When we go barbecuing or just a casual camp out, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. But you've got the backpack right there on your left. My daughter and I did by the time we were done, it was probably a 14-hour hike last summer up a mountain in Utah, and I carried that thing the whole time. and she carried her load too.
Yep.
But I had 2 of our pack ice, frozen ice packs in there of 2 pounds each, so 4 pounds of ice, and then all the drinks. And it was August. So it was
warm.
Yeah, it was warm.
Yeah.
And when we got back to the car, we still had a Gatorade left, so we pounded it, and I had to stop pounding it because I got the ice cream headache. It was still that cold.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's pretty sweet.
So those are no joke too.
Yeah, because I always wanted one of these. I mean, it probably wouldn't have Gatorades in it, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
Water,
Fair enough.
Some lattes.
She was 19.
That's good. Good to know.
Yep.
My buddies and I are going fishing out this weekend at Brown Lake. Not Brown Lake, some Brown River. I don't know. Some big Brown River or Big Bear River over there.
Okay.
I'm sure one will have these, but I'd like to have one myself. But anyway, so this is kind of a weird question. Since they're kind of designed for the outdoorsman, the adventurous, the people going out camping and stuff like that, what are some bear-resistant features that you might have?
Oh, there you go. Okay, so it's built in right here.
Okay.
These are the bear locks, just on the corners.
Yep.
And all you got to do is, throw a carabiner through there, throw a bolt, put a nut on the bottom of it. Anything that threads that whole a padlock obviously will do it. But they are, let's see if you can see the stickers on them. Yeah, on the front panel on the bottom right there is the Interagency Grizzly Bear Committee. I think I said that right. Certification. And so what you do is you call them up and say, hey, I want you to test my cooler, and send it to them. And you can find it on our YouTube for sure. It's on our site and on our Instagram. The bear, they fill it with like salmon, you know, something that bear's going to want to get at. Throw it in there, and the bear just goes at it for however long they say.
Let him have it.
Yeah.
Go for it, pal.
And if he gets the salmon, we lose, and if he doesn't, we win, and we won. So, they are certified bear resistant, but you just got to put something through there because that's how you keep them from getting.
That's true. I mean, because a bear could figure that out. Figure out the pole.
I heard a good quote once that how come bears keep getting in dumpsters, and the park ranger said, well, there's a significant overlap between the most intelligent bear and the least intelligent human. And bears ain't dumb.
Actually they're one of the higher IQ'd animals out there as well.
They're crafty.
And you also throw these things off of roofs, so that's a good test.
Yep.
Good testament to the whole idea.
Yep.
All right, so you did mention some eco-friendly stuff, so let's kind of dive into that. Cooler design, not so much, but how is this eco-friendly and sustainable for the environment?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? Because manufacturing things has a cost, right? Anything that you make, you're consuming materials and energy to do it. So how do we try and minimize the impact? And, nothing is zero impact, right? At least not that we're doing, but we try and do the best we can. So we've got the recycled resin like I talked about. We've got the eco foam like I talked about. We try and source the raw materials domestically as well. So even the resin comes from refineries within the U.S. So minimize transportation costs there. And then, I think sort of the guiding principle is buy it once and buy it right.
Buy once, cry once.
Yeah, exactly. It only hurts, right? Because you never have to worry about buying it again, right? And one of my favorite stories from growing up is my dad liked to go to auctions and estate sales. I grew up in Kansas.
Same.
Okay.
I bought motorcycles that way.
Okay. Well, he bought a truck that way one day, and he called us. This was in the days before cell phones, so he went into the house where they were having the sale and called us and said, hey, I bought a truck. Come pick me up. Because we dropped him off thinking, he might do that. And we're like, well, didn't you just say you bought a truck? He's like, yeah, I bought the one that don't run. And that thing sat in our driveway for 3 years. And so it was $150, but I have to remind myself that just because it's cheap doesn't mean it's not junk.
Yeah.
Right? So the idea with what we're manufacturing is that if you buy it once and take care of it, you won't have to buy another one, and it'll turn into an heirloom for the next generation. And so the fact that it won't end up in a landfill is sort of the ultimate, claim we make about being environmentally responsible.
Interesting. And that's a kind of different take on it. I've never really thought about that. It's it may, like you said, nothing is completely green off the bat. There's always going to be some sort of chemical, whatever it may be, to be used, or how to refine everything. but you're doing it for long term.
Yeah.
Like this is going to last a long time versus maybe the cooler that's a fraction of the price that it's going to break.
And it's going to go to a landfill.
Yeah. That's the environmental impact is a lot worse, I guess, in the long run. I never thought about that. That's a really cool insight.
I can't say it's totally my own, but think about the quality gear you've got, right? Like I got fleece that's older than my kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because bought it once, bought it right, take care of it. It takes care of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Makes total sense to me. That's cool insight. I like that. All right. Well, what are some lesser known tips or creative uses for coolers that could benefit RVers on the road or any adventurer or camper enthusiast?
Lesser known tips. I mean, I guess what I would say is it doesn't have to be filled with stuff that's going to melt and get wet, right? If there's anything that you want to protect and transport, this is an ideal piece of equipment to do it with. And yeah, because it can survive the bumps and falls. I mean, if there's anything fragile, and it's just getting you out of a bind to toss it in there, pack it right. Like I put some computer monitors in one and just bubble wrapped them because I knew they were going in the back of a truck and going on a road trip down to Salt Lake. So it's like 4 hours there, and I'm like, oh yeah, they'll be fine. Nobody can hurt them.
And they were fine.
100%. Okay. Yeah.
just making sure.
That'd be a stupid anecdote if but by the way,
it didn't work out.
No, it worked out. Like we got pictures. There's a skidster back there on the lot. We got pictures of a skidster parked on top of it.
No kidding?
Yeah, driving Jeeps over it. These handles, we put one handle on a forklift.
Well, they got bottle openers too.
Yeah, they got bottle openers built into them. And put a bag of resin on the other end of it, which is 1,000 pounds, lifted it up, the handle's held. I mean, anything you want to protect, it'll do it.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, especially with the bear resistant sticker as well.
Yeah.
So like if you needed something to keep safe when you're out hunting or wherever you're doing,
yep,
it's going to be just fine.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I had another question. Where'd it go? Oh, so I actually heard a tip from one of our top guys at Bish's.
Yeah.
He was out, I want to say he was up in Michigan or Minnesota up on the lakes, and it was like a hot day on the lake. And his cooler just kept kind of going through ice.
Going through ice? Okay.
So he had to fill up like every end of the day or midday even. They said it was just kind of a problem. But anyway, he said that what he did is he actually opened the cooler and took a reflective blanket and set it on top of it and like kind of used it kind of half cracked. It actually lasted longer.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is interesting, and I don't know why that is. I was just curious. Maybe you would know.
Do you know what kind of cooler he was using by any chance?
I don't.
Okay.
I didn't get that part.
Here's my guess, right? Like before I really went down the rabbit hole, which is a fun one to go down, of how do you optimize ice retention and how do you make the best piece of gear you can. I was, I just had whatever cooler we got for, I think we still had one from our wedding, wedding present, right? And then I went back and looked at it, and I'm like, oh, I got better coolers now. I'm going to sawzall this thing up and see what's inside of it. And the lid was just a piece of blow-molded plastic with air as the insulator. So nothing blown into it, right?
Really?
Yeah, and it was a Coleman.
Yeah.
But my guess would be that the lid was not insulating or not insulated, and so not insulating. And so using that blanket allowed the heat to be reflected off and the cold to be reflected back, and then for the heat to vent out with the, because the heat's going to rise.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. To be vented out rather than trapped in the top of the cooler there. That's my best guess.
I mean, it makes sense to me, and I'm not the smartest guy. So.
Well, I mean, let's put you and me together, and we could probably figure it out.
Oh,
yeah.
Next cooler coming at you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, this is a different interview for me, so I got to read some questions.
Yeah, sure.
I prepped these beforehand, so.
I saw them.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Not in like a debate prep thing.
Yeah, correct. He hasn't seen these questions before.
Yeah.
This is all me for about a week. We went back and forth, Jordan and I did. So.
Right on.
So, Let's see if I want to read this one. Okay, I'm going to ask it. How do cooling needs for RVers How do cooling needs of RVers differ from traditional campers? Actually, this would probably be for me. And how does Cordova Coolers meet those specific needs? I'm going to talk about this a little bit. So
yeah, please.
So RVers, fridges have changed a lot in the last couple of years, 10 years, decade, 2 decades, whatever it may be. The old electric gas electric fridges are kind of going to the wayside. It's becoming more electric 12 volt or 110s, depending on what you're in. Those have come a long ways, just like any fridge in the house. I mean, everyone has the fridge in the garage that was the fridge before and prior, and it keeps shifting. The reason being is because they keep getting better. That's just how it is. So on the cooler side of things, what have you seen, I guess, in your time in the cooler space, how they've gotten better?
I would say it's a similarly iterative process, right? Okay. Where with each sort of model that is produced, you incorporate the incremental improvements that you wish the previous generation had. Yeah. Right? Like, so the easy examples going back to this versus the ones that, like a Yeti that was designed a few years before this are the latches, the handles, and just the things we've already talked about with the lid lock as well. So those sort of iterative changes, I think the basic use of the cooler is almost nostalgic in some ways, right? Like it takes me back to like going to the lake as a kid and then having the cookout at the end of the day, or just pulling up to the campsite and your dinner's in there, right? But I think about the coolers, and we had like the classic like stainless steel Coleman growing up, right? You know what I'm
the red one.
Yes, it was beat to hell, so you had to kind of look for the color. Yeah. But I think about the way that was constructed and the life cycle that it was meant to last for. And I think refrigerators are very similar to that, right? If you think about ones from a couple decades ago versus, like you say, the ones that you put in your kitchen when the old one goes to the garage, there's just sort of a continual thoughtful process. Yeah. And I would say probably the most recent change we made or design improvements were, one, having the recycled resin as a possibility, and then two, going to the eco foam. That's a relatively recent change that frankly most of the coolers that are imported are not using, because the requirements for manufacturing where they're made don't require it. And it is a process, and you got to learn how to do it versus just the regular insulation that has been used for years. But that was a step that this feels good, right, and the performance does not suffer at all, and the environmental impact is diminished.
I mean they live in the same space, fridges, coolers, and over time, longevity, I guess. Of cooling capabilities have only gone up. It's been a bell curve since, right? At least somewhat of a bell curve. That's an interesting question I had to ask.
That was my best attempt at a thoughtful answer.
I thought you did great.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
So how about customization options?
I love that.
This is kind of fun.
Yeah.
I know that we Bish's RV actually somewhat partner with you.
You guys are great customers. Love working with Bish's.
Yeah. So we actually get Bish's stamped or designed. Cordova Coolers. So if you want one, you can check out Bish's.com, or can you order from just Cordova?
I would go through Bish's for the Bish's ones.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the least I can do for y'all. Putting us on your podcast.
Or at least you can. These are pretty cool. This is the national. What are they?
Yeah, these are. So this is from the ones we got here are from our national parks collection, and this is all done in-house as well. I will say we did work with a local artist to create the designs, and we did 4 parks to start. So we did Yosemite, Yellowstone, Great Smoky Mountains, and Zion.
Okay.
And let's see.
Yeah,
so there's Yellowstone right there. You got Old Faithful on the front of it, and we print on a wide format, full color printer right here in house, and it's the same material that you're putting on the side of your RVs, right?
Graphic?
Yeah, it's on a graphic just like that, made, and you can, this is made to be outside, made to take a beating.
Correct.
Right? So it's not going to peel up. It's commercial grade. There's a UV laminate on top of it to keep the color from fading. Again, just it's the same stuff you're putting on there.
Yeah.
And we do the printing, the laminating, the cutting, and the wrapping all in house. And just again, it's not cheap, but it looks freaking awesome.
It looks really cool.
And we've got some really skilled people that have been at this for a while, but it's still a significant investment of time to customize a cooler like that. But you're not going to have anybody else wandering up and being like, "Oh, is that your cooler or mine?" No, man, that's mine.
Look at it.
Come on now. Come on.
Look at it. Is there any? So outside of graphics, is there any other, I guess, customization options?
We can do whatever you want to with it. You can just so I did one for my parents when they were out, and I just had the last name put on the lid, and then sunflower graphics because they're from Kansas. That's the Kansas State flower.
Yep.
I thought it looked cool, and my daughter actually did the artwork for it.
Very nice.
But yeah, for the actual cooler color body, like we do all of the pigmentation of the resin in house as well, so we can PMS match any color.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so I can drop any color, and I'm like, I want that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's a setup, procedure associated with it, so there's a minimum order quantity. But like Bish's, y'all want 50 coolers, and you got your Bish's PMS colors. Yeah, let's rock and roll. Let's do it.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
A DMB is people outside of Idaho may not be familiar with them, but they're awesome. Here is a farm supply, ranch supply store, tool supplies.
Oh, very large. Yeah.
Yeah, great folks over there. We did some custom D&B red coolers for them just this past summer, and they look sharp. And we blacked out the handles for them too. We just powder coated the handles black.
Oh, very nice. And is that aluminum?
Yeah, it is. Yep.
It's pretty heavy duty.
Machined aluminum.
It's no joke.
It's not. It'll, like I said, it'll held that 1,000-pound bag, and
1,000-pound bag
when we lifted it up off the forklift.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's no joke.
No, again, it's on our Instagram. You can check it out. We tried it with a competitor first, and you can see where it breaks. And so
very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I got a couple other questions here, but we're almost done here.
Let's go.
What essential cooler accessories from Cordova would you recommend for RVers or adventurers to enhance their overall camping experience?
I think the pack ice is the biggest bang for the buck, honestly, right? So it's what you would think of. It's the gel-filled pre-freeze ice block,
okay,
right? But it comes in the 2-pound and the 4-pound,
okay,
and it'll get down to your freezer temperature, so 0 degrees, so you're 32 degrees below freezing, right? And when it melts, it's not gonna you're not gonna end up with melt water like with regular ice. It's got our little Chugach Mountain silhouette cut out in the middle, so you can grab it anytime you want. It's made to fit just inside the coolers, real nice, and it's gonna give you that extra chilling power. So like I said, I went up the mountain with that backpack and 4 pounds of pack ice cream, headache, cold at the end of the day. But in terms of prepping and packing, there's just not a better method, really. I mean, unless you want to go pick up some dry ice and you're comfortable going that way for another 85 degrees of chill, but you're leveling up at that point.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, if you're only going to get one thing, that's what I would get. For the larger coolers, so the mediums and up, there's a slot in there where you can put dividers in if you want to segregate, right? If you want beer on one side, soda on the other, and they come in pairs, so you can pull it out and
you have a separator, you said, a divider?
Exactly.
Very nice. Yeah.
Put it on the lid, use it as a cutting board, but there's still one in there, right? You haven't lost the division, so you can put it back in when you're done. We like that.
Very cool.
But yeah, short and sweet. Those are my top couple.
Yeah, I actually used for like when I last fall I went out western Nebraska. I moved out here last April.
Oh, right on.
So last April I moved out here, but I finally drew my antelope tag in Nebraska.
Okay.
And I was still a Nebraska resident, so I ended up going back
Right on.
in October,
Okay.
and I use those gel packs.
Oh, good.
And they're great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fantastic. My parents, actually, I think they get them. Basically, I mean, probably a cheaper version than are like the longer lasting ones, but the like HelloFresh meals.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They come with those blocks. And we reuse the crap out of them because there's that gel. You can get them all the way down, and they last for a long time.
And you're being environmentally responsible.
Absolutely. I mean, eventually they break. And
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, they're a thinner plastic.
Right.
Throw them back, throw them away. It is what it is. But they lasted several hunting trips for me.
Right on.
Why not use them? So
Yeah.
that's one good option there, and it helped. My antelope tasted horrible. Nothing but sagebrush. He was fighting all day. It was the worst tasting thing. I still got a couple quarters of them left. I'm like, I don't even know if I can finish him.
Okay.
But anyway, moving on from that. So, how do you see Cordova Coolers fitting into the broader RV and camping ecosystem? And are there any partnerships or collaboration with RV manufacturers or campgrounds? We partnered with you a little bit.
Yeah.
We kind of bought out some of them, made our own designs, but campgrounds, I know you're doing your own little, I guess, graphic designs of the national parks. I'm guessing you're going to probably expand that across the whole national park.
I mean, we're a small company. We're locally owned and operated, right? I mean, you're sitting at our global headquarters right here. So, we're trying to just partner with like-minded businesses. Bish's is, y'all are big compared to us. But where our sort of business philosophies align, whether it's locally or a little bit further afield, we feel like we've had some good success and just want to keep helping people deliver quality products to people that want to enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah.
And
I think you guys have been doing that. And you've been in business for how long again?
Well, going back to when Scott started, it's pushing 10 years. It was 2015 when he first sort of said, "Hey, I'm going to build a better cooler for the marine industry."
Absolutely. Well, and marine industry and RV industry alike. I mean, very similar. Obviously, the rough seas. I prefer land.
Understood.
But the ideas of tight spaces, this little flip versus underside makes sense to me. The bear locks, bear certified, wherever that was.
Yep.
Throw it off the top, park a forklift on it. You can do all sorts of things with these things.
Yep.
Which is very cool. Anything else you'd like to share, Gentry?
Check us out. If you got any questions, we try and be an open book here to help. I think our support team does a good job. And really the idea is, buy it once, use it, take care of it. You don't have to worry about buying it again and it becomes an heirloom. That's what we're trying to do.
And the president has great hair.
Back at you, man.
You gotta listen.
Game, respect, game.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I hope this kind of wraps up everything that you need to know about Cordova Coolers. We're sitting out in front of a Thor Motor Coach Gemini today. Drove this thing over here. Drove like a dream. It's got the Ford EcoBoost engine in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it got 12 miles per gallon. That's not bad.
It's a nice looking piece of equipment.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So if you're interested in RVs, please check out any Bish's near you, or even call because we can deliver. I actually delivered out of Nebraska to California, New Mexico, Arizona quite a bit of times because they might get mad at that, but that's okay. People call and ask for me, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, check out Cordova Coolers if you're looking at some, high quality coolers, because this thing will last the lifetime that you're talking for. So, Gentry, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
And stay tuned for more from the RV Voice.